Hello, my name is Anthony Hinojosa, and you're watching Exposed Network Behind the Music, and today we're going to be with Migs Whiskey.
What's going on?
This is our one of our first interviews when it comes down to Exposed Network and trying to get behind the music of musicians and artists and stuff of the sort. I'm not a musician, so there's not really much of a reason for me to be doing a lot of music in-depth stuff, but I think it'll be cool if you started actually doing that. So we were talking and we thought that maybe you should probably be the first person to be under the wire on this if you're going to be asking questions.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the music itself, but really getting into the people that we're interviewing. Yeah. So as I just kind of kick this off, if you would, as the interviewer, you're going to be the interviewer going into the future when we got some other artists to be able to talk to. But for now, I'm just going to kind of start it through. But like we had kind of talked about before, we want this to be more of an interview process of getting like really deep into the actual artists themselves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool because artists get an opportunity sometimes to talk about their music, but to talk about who they are and where the music comes from is probably a lot more valuable for a lot of artists.
And I feel like that's what the word always meant, right? Expose.
Yeah.
Right? Bring it to the surface. Let's expose not only the artist, but what he's about. Yeah. You know, and how does the whole process work?
Right. And it's kind of a mending of what it is that we've done before. We've done a podcast together, Exposed Network, which is still out there. And we've always gone as deep as we possibly could on just subjects of like life and everything. But to be able to kind of get into the artist mind specifically with that same type of mindset, I think we can get in some really interesting places.
It's rock and roll.
So we're going to start, obviously, like I said, with you because you should be put out on the crucifixion cross first before you're going to put anybody else out there. So we're going to want to kind of dig deep a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel like when you're going to start a podcast or anything like that, an interview, and especially you're an artist to yourself, you should state your story at the beginning so you don't start stating your story in every interview you're doing with people. I've seen it with so many podcasts. You start talking about themselves, it's like you should have done an episode on yourself. Right. So we don't got to hear about you in every episode.
The show's not about you, okay?
Yeah, the show's not about you.
So we can get that show that is about you out the way at the beginning.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right. It makes
I don't want to talk about me after this.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk about the artist that's on here.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do this.
All right, cool. So me as somebody who's just been in your wheelhouse of relationships, friendships, and stuff like that, there's a lot of things that I do know about you, but at the same time, I kind of want to like dig into some places that maybe we haven't talked about before, or maybe just be a surrogate for some of the your audience that you do have out there that may not know too much about you going on the deep end of who it is that you are. And so I've seen plenty of interviews and podcasts that you've been on and stuff like that, and I thought that they're all awesome. You actually do really well interviewing the people, and they've all have asked some really great questions. But I think that this is a good opportunity to be able to dig into, again, kind of like the deep pieces of who it is that you are. And so like, I guess the more common place to start with people is a real basic kind of like run-of-the-mill, less than 5 minutes version of who you are, where you're from, and what do you do. So you play music, obviously, but there's gonna be very few people that would know who you are. And so if you can give, like I said, a short 5-minute rundown about who it is that you are.
Yeah, my name is Migs Whiskey. I'm a singer-songwriter from Southern California. I do outlaw folk music. It's pretty much storytelling with the fucking attitude. Yeah. You know, and yeah, man, my music will tell you who I am and where I come from. Yeah. You know, sometimes I'm telling my story. Sometimes I'm a journalist telling the stories of others. Yeah. And there's a lot of fucking stories. I'm a motherfucking storyteller. Yeah. And that's for sure. I talk about riding Harleys. I talk about fucking doing crime, doing drugs, getting sober, redemption. I talk about falling in love with all the wrong things and all the wrong places and all that stuff. And if you relate, you relate, and if you don't, you don't. Right. You know, my music is music for sinners, you know? Sure. I remember I had a family member tell me, you should do Christian music. I'm like, well, this is my Christian music. This is what connects me to my higher power, which I choose to call God. Yeah. And that's just my way of serving, you know? And, you know, we always got to find something that we love to do and do it. Yeah. And it comes with its trials and its tribulations, you know, and I've learned that. But you know what? I live with that outlaw mentality since punk rock. Right. You know, so we speak for the ones that don't have a voice. Yeah. And that's what I've seen on the DMs, and I want to thank everybody for like, you know, and I think that's why this is good. Yeah. You know, I posted up a post recently. It says, who the fuck is Migs Whiskey? Yeah. Well, let's fucking find out. I'm gonna let you know.
All right, let's find out. So you as an individual, you not only just play music, but anybody who does kind of follow your page, they know that you're somewhat what people would call a deep thinker. Somebody who's like really willing to kind of get into the mind as deep as you possibly can. And I see in some interviews that I've seen in the past, some people they kind of like they're really interested in the music, which makes sense. You make some great music, but they may not know necessarily how deep they could go with you and how deep you're wanting to go. So to be able to kind of get into that place, I kind of want to like start it off in a spot to where we can get into that spot pretty easily to kind of like start talking about your deep thinking processes. And I guess the first one, a good question to be able to start off with, is kind of like you on a daily basis. Like, what is your daily routine? What does it look like for you to be able to kind of maintain your mindset, whatever that mindset is? And what do you have to do to kind of like keep that up to date for yourself and healthy? What does that look like for you? What's your daily routine?
Yeah, man. Wake up, coffee.
Okay.
You know, affirmation and prayer. You know, I like to say a little. My prayers are just really talking to God.
Yeah.
Really, and then there might be even some cussing involved. You know what I mean?
Sure.
No cursing, but cussing.
Yeah.
Which I feel is different. And you know, and affirmation. I was created in the image of my Father. My Father only created greatness, so I cannot be nothing less than that.
Right.
And knowing that is one thing, but doing it. You know, understanding that I'm great, and I'm looking for greatness. You know. Always progress, chasing perfection. We'll probably never meet perfection, but you got to go towards it.
Yeah.
So then after that, you know, if, you know, lately, like obviously after the accident, you know, there was a little bit of change into my routine, but it's still strictly the same. It's exercise, read, write.
Right.
You know, that's got to be a Mando.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of gets me in alignment.
Yeah.
And serving, which would be my job or would be literally going out of my way to go help somebody,
right?
You know, and sometimes that's what the music is. You know, the late night gig. You know, I end up serving people with music.
Yeah.
And after that, the conversation. So as long as I keep that consistent, and obviously family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's got to be like it's a big thing for me today because that is the foundation. I'm really doing this for my fam, bro.
Yeah.
You know, like they're the ones that really were hurt by my my lifestyle.
Sure.
I mean, society was hurt too, but you know, the family really took the hit. So yeah, so family, exercise, reading, writing, and prayer, meditation, you know, definitely in there. I throw meditation in there, guided meditation. I like guided meditations.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, man, the reading and the writing really, it's weird. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
Because not only do I process it through the reading, but I process it double through the writing.
Right.
And then being able to go back and reflect, which is pretty much inventory later on. Mm-hmm. That sometimes can happen at night, go back through old writings. And then I'm like, wow, I was really in a dark place that time.
Sure.
And learning from that.
Right.
So yeah, that's the routine. And that's usually what it's been working great.
It's good. When you start talking about like these things that you have to do on a daily basis, you talk about like reading and writing and your affirmations. I want to start on affirmations first, and then I'll get into reading and writing. But your affirmations, why do you find that to be important for yourself? And for anybody who doesn't know what the word affirmations means, can you explain that also?
Oh man, it's speaking to existence, the thoughts, you know, and you know, because a man is what he thinks.
Yeah.
And I gotta know I gotta really be conscious of where I'm thinking, and that's what I'm trying to take it. You know, I'm trying to set the bar high early in the day. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that's what meditation is. You know, the monks like to meditate early in the morning because they know there's an old African proverb that says, when there is no enemy within, there is no enemy outside that can harm me.
Right.
And that's what it's all about.
Right.
You know, if I believe that I am great,
yes,
there's nothing you can say to change that.
Right.
There's only things I can say to myself that can change that.
Yeah.
And obviously when you're not living to what you say, that's when you start really believing what everyone else says, because now you don't know what you are.
Right.
You let the world tell you who you are. So it sets the bar high early in the day with the prayer, with the meditation and the affirmations.
Yes.
You go out there knowing who you are, but knowing that you have to live to that standard to claim that title.
Right.
And that's what the whole day after that goes on. So you start off your day with like a straight punch.
Yeah.
I was created in the image of my Father.
Yeah.
Who only created greatness. So I cannot be nothing less than that.
That's pretty good.
Set the bar. Now are you living to that?
Yeah.
And not beating yourself up if you don't, because there is no such thing as perfection. You're gonna slip, mistakes happen, but that's what really is the foundation. And as long as I stay there, I'm smashing.
Yeah, that's good. Now that like you kind of like we get a good understanding of what affirmations are, you kind of talk to yourself. Obviously, you talk about setting the standard at a certain place to be able to say this is where I want it to be. I would imagine that the reason as to why you read and write is to be able to kind of keep that standard in check. Is to be able to learn as much as you can, to be able to express as much as you can what it is that you've learned. So talking about books is a huge subject I know for you. You talk about books way more than I do. If anybody knows me, I'm just a Bibles and comic books.
Bibles and comic books.
Yeah, that's my life. But you are an avid reader. And you like to read things that are not just in your realm, but kind of like expand outside of that realm too. But from what I understand, the types of books that you read are not going to be like the latest fantasy book. It's going to be kind of like something that has to do with self-help or it's being able to push your mind to the next level, whatever that might be. So a couple of the books that have been influential, not just to you, but the books that you've kind of like gravitated towards the most over the years. What are some of those books? Because one book that people know that you talk about is the Bible. You throw that out, but I want to know kind of like a little bit more. Like, what are the books you read? Because I know again that you read pretty often.
Yeah, man. I've read a couple books. Like I got my dailies.
Yeah.
You know, like some of them are I want to say recovery based, right? Like daily reflections, as Bill sees it.
Yeah.
You know, I got this men's daily devotional book.
Oh, cool.
I found for like $1 or $2 at a bookstore.
Yeah.
That one's good too. And it's like it's too like those I like because it's like, who am I having the first conversations with? I see these as conversations with people from another time. I really don't read the self-help books. It's more like stories though.
Okay.
I like the adversities of men in these stories and see like, damn, like a lot of stoic stories, even films, you know? So that's what I like about them. But back to the book titles. I've gotten into Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and Outwitting the Devil.
All right.
You know, Think and Grow Rich really showed me what it is to be rich. And it's more of a mindset than actual manifestation of materialistic things. And he talks a lot about the thinker and the drifter, and what the thinker is not a drifter. The drifter is a person that doesn't think for themselves.
Gotcha.
So he's really saying, think for yourself and you'll grow rich.
Yeah.
And what are you thinking of? Goes back to the affirmations, you know? And if you really feel you're poor, you're probably going to be poor, and poor is just a fucking attitude.
Sure.
You got a poor attitude, you got a broke mentality. That's why you feel the way you feel, and that's not what my whole day is about. And it's never about money or materialistic things. It's definitely about having a mindset to do the right thing, not to be right, to do the right thing. And that's what I learned from that.
So that reminds me of, just because you're on it right now, it reminds me of that because I've heard it before in one of your interviews, the richest man in the room.
Richest man in the room.
Whatever that specifically means, because I know that there are certain people that heard that and thought two completely different things at one point. I kind of want to set it straight right now what it is that you think the richest man in the room is when you actually speak it out loud. Are people, when they listen to that, should they be thinking about, oh, he's talking about, you know, making money. He's talking about doing this, this, and that. I want you to set it straight right now what it is that you think or what it is that you mean when you talk about the richest man in the room.
The richest man in the room is the man that's full, that's content. He has it. He doesn't need it. He doesn't look for it in nothing else because he has it. You know, I don't want to walk in and have $1 million. I want to feel like $1 million. And that will make me make $1 million. And I know that because when you feel it, it will manifest. And that's people that know laws of attraction, they'll relate to that. But I mean, Napoleon Hill and all the guys that made that whole stuff, I mean, they're not the first ones who said it. I mean, Jesus was about that. Jesus was a nomad, homeless. He didn't have a home. He had sandals and a tunic and he had it all. Why? Because he was full. And I am a firm believer that only the rich can serve. Only the rich can serve, and people are gonna get that twisted. You know, they're gonna think, oh, so what? Like when I have all these things? No, when you feel fulfilled, because when you can give something, and you need to have something to give something. But if you feel you have nothing, then you can't give nothing. And that goes back to that, man. And like honestly, like it's not about all that stuff that I thought it was at one point, which drove me to do a lot of crimes and a lot of stuff that got me out of character. And it gets people out of character. And the reason why I say only the rich can serve, because they're fulfilled, so they won't compromise the mission. They won't turn a corner to get the easy way to that instant gratification. They know why they're there. They're there to serve. And like it says it in the Bible, the greatest among you shall be the servant. Jesus said that to the disciples when they wanted to compete about who was the best one. He put the standard high. It's the servant. So if you're out there serving fucking people, you're the one we should thank. You're the one that makes this go around. And not to shit on leaders, but you know what I mean? That's it. And true leaders serve people.
Right.
You know, and that's what's the standard. And it goes back to other books that I read, like John C. Maxwell, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, or how successful leaders lead. I think
that's what it's called.
Yeah, golden book.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm like super having a brain fart because I have
there's
like
too many books.
There's too many books right now running in my head that I'm having a brain fart. You know, I got most of his books like. I think it's Make Today Count, which is I think is a red book, and there's the blue book, how successful people think.
You do them like pills, like matrix pills. Like
Yeah,
blue
pill, red pill. Yeah. So yeah, John C. Maxwell showed me about leadership, and I love his standard. And yes, he's a believer. And most of these guys that I really read on are believers.
Yeah.
You know, they're not really contradicting the gospel or the Old Testament.
Right.
If anything, they're just setting it in stone.
Right.
And that's what people really get twisted, man. And that's why at least the people I've experienced in my life, you know, but it's because they compromise and they manipulate it to their own benefit, right. You know, and that's what I don't want, man. I don't want to manipulate something and just keep doing what I'm doing. I don't want to be right. I want to figure out what is right.
Right.
And that comes with knowing that I'm a fool, a student, because you must be a student before you're a teacher, and you must be a fool before you're a wise man. Right. And I'm 32 years old, man. If this is something new to you, and you might be on the other side of this interview and think, well, I know that. But knowing and doing are two different things, but they're actually the same thing, because if you don't do what you know, then you don't know shit.
Right. So on that subject of kind of just like doing things, knowing things, understanding all this, it sounds like there's a lot of things that whether it be theories, opinions, or maybe quite possibly facts or truths.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that kind of float in your mind right now, but a lot of people would be able to know either based off of, assuming off of the way that you look, or the music you play, or anything of the sort, if they know anything about your past as well, that you've kind of put yourself in a place to be surrounded by the topic of crime. And if the topic of crime is kind of there all the time, there's a lot of people out there probably asking themselves or wanting to ask you, how can you talk about all these different things and also be connected with this whole talk about crime? What do you think about crime and where that connects with you in your life right now, and whether that is a part of it or not? What is it that your take on that? If somebody was kind of
well, let's talk about the word outlaw.
Okay.
Because it's got a definition, and people try to like switch it and turn it however they want, right? I mean, I before I started reading all these books, I was a big fan in my teenage years of true crime. Okay. You know, everyone's got their own little intake on what, you know, they see, and then they want to say what they think they know. Sure. It's opinion, straight up, you know. And outlaw is not a gangster. A gangster is someone that financially gains from a crime.
Okay.
An outlaw is someone that stands against a system that's wrong. Martin Luther King was an outlaw. At that time, they were treating a group of people like shit. Yeah. And someone needed to stand. Yeah. And at that point, it was right to do that. Yeah. To treat these people the way they treated them.
It was outside of the law.
Yeah, it was almost like, to them it was like normal, but the outlaw was like, nah, there's something wrong here. That's how the outlaw thinks. Right. The outlaw always thinks there's something wrong here, we ain't benefiting, and he stands for that group. Right. Jesus was an outlaw, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and those are the dudes. And that's why, like, yes, I can talk about crime. I mean, Malcolm X, I love Malcolm X, because his story too, I relate a lot with him. He goes from being a young kid and is just like straight up loses his whole faith on like this world because of how his people are treated and how he's treated. Right. And he goes into a life of crime and then goes into jail and finds, you know, the Quran and teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and then eventually goes into this path with God. So yes, like, you need to talk about the darkness if you want to talk about the light. Right. So going back to that, yeah, crime is a thing, and like I said, my music for a certain group, and yes, crime is a part of my life. I benefited financially from certain crimes, and I wasn't the best of persons, but you know, a lot of people do bad things, but it's learning from them, you know. Right. I mean, the SS soldiers were law-abiding citizens in Germany at the time. That's going to rub people the wrong way, but that's true. They were abiding by their government at the time. Does that make them right? No. So anyone that stood at that time against the Nazi movement was an outlaw. Right. We need outlaws. Yeah. Be an outlaw. Speak up. Stand against that stuff. So yeah, a little bit of the crime. Is it a crime? But I mean, when you make things that are wrong right, then I guess crime is the only way I can go.
So obviously, I would assume that there is, because if I'm not mistaken, you've done some time.
Yeah.
And on one side of the time versus the other side of the time, if you would, there is this difference between seeing like outlaw stuff that's based off of crime that would be against the law,
Okay.
maybe hurtful, versus how you're kind of, it's how it sounds like, at least right now, outlaw is outside of law, but law to you is like a system within itself, not always just specifically government, but like a system of understanding for people, right?
Yeah.
That like if everybody thinks this way, then they should be able to think outside of that law that people have created for themselves and think against it if it requires to be thought. So for yourself, you go into these places that kind of like think a little outside the box. So outlaw to you, it very much is like outside of the full system that everybody is falling into. A lot of people, that is, if people have heard of this, the hypnotic rhythm, it is being able to get outside of this, to be able to get outside of this thought process that everybody else is, tends to have. I've heard you talk about the hypnotic rhythm before as well.
Yeah.
I don't know entirely how to define what that might be. I have an understanding of what that would be, but I kind of really wanted to get your opinion about what hypnotic rhythm is and what it means to you.
Okay.
And how it could be either helpful or detrimental to our society.
Yeah, man. Hypnotic rhythm is when when you're walking unconsciously, and you want to be eventually conscious of your hypnotic rhythm. That's what you want. And hypnotic rhythm, for the definition, like let me try to break this down. It would be like the reason why you're wearing that shirt, those glasses, that style of glasses too, and I'm wearing this style.
Yeah.
Because we saw it in someone before us,
right.
and it put it in our programming, and that's where we go. Matrix is a perfect example of that, right? So like I wear these, you wear those. Why? Because I saw someone that I liked and admired with this, and usually it was blues musicians and stuff. A lot of musicians wear these kind, you know, from the shirt, you know, to the tank top. Everything came in a programming. You did not make this. You might want to say you did, but you saw it somewhere, and eventually became a part of your programming. Now you would say, well, how do I change my programming? Well, you would have to get conscious and aware of it, right? What would make me conscious and aware of it? Well, one of the good things is adversity. Adversity is the first moment where you really get to see your hypnotic rhythm, and you start seeing that it's broken somewhere.
Right.
It's like the glitch. It's the glitch. You know, if I keep going to jail, it's like, oh shoot, why does this keep happening?
Right.
It's not because of the world. It's because of my programming, my reaction to the world. I want to respond. I don't want to react.
Right.
So when I figure out how to respond, it's better than a reaction. A reaction is kind of like, ugh, you know what I mean? But a response is more controlled.
Right.
You know, if I'm on a motorcycle and there's something on the road, if I react, that could cause an accident.
Sure.
But if I respond, I just move it.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And that's what the hypnotic rhythm is. And I always, since a kid, I knew something was wrong.
Sure.
Knew it. When I got conscious and aware of my hypnotic rhythm, I was able to change that. And that's why I do my daily routine the way I do it. I don't blame anything. Only the action I'm going to take.
Yeah.
And after that, all the power's in my hands. But I am a Christian. I do believe in the teachings of Jesus Christ. So I do believe that the power is all his. Thy will be done. But he does give me some power. I believe my higher power gives me power. Yeah. My higher power does not leave me powerless. He made me great like everything else. Yeah. At one point, I would tell myself I needed a certain substance to get through my day. That was just another weak cop-out.
Yeah.
What? So he made all the fishes perfect and he didn't make me perfect?
Yeah.
He made me perfectly for the life I was going to live. And I believe that. And that goes back to the affirmations early in the morning. You are what you're supposed to be. At the time, in the place, everything. Now work with that. Yeah. Now you can complain about it like everybody else, or you could get to work.
Right.
And when I finally came to terms with that, honestly, because this is the thing, a lot of people always say, I know. I hate that fucking word. I know. I got a 10-year-old. He says, I know. He's 10. Yeah. I can accept that. You know, when I was a kid, I thought I knew everything. But I always tell him, well, if you knew, then why am I telling you? Yeah. Discipline yourself so others don't have to discipline you. And that's what it is. It's easy to know what to do, but to do it is the hard part.
Right.
And that's what wisdom is. Knowledge applied.
Right.
And to the hypnotic rhythm, that's what the hypnotic rhythm is. You want to change your hypnotic rhythm? Be conscious and aware of every time you crash and you get a glitch. Glitches are good. Yeah. Glitches are good. Mistakes are good. Failures are good. Yeah. Quitting is not okay though. Yeah. You got to keep going, because quitting is just getting back into the hypnotic rhythm. And guess what? You'll see it in 6 months again.
That's interesting. You'll
probably see it in 3 months. Some people even get to see it the next day. Right? I'm not going to pick up potato chips. The next day they pick up a potato chip. This is not about drug addiction, man, for me. Yeah. This is way past that. At one point when I came into this whole journey of recovery, discovery, sobriety, being clean, I thought I had a problem with cocaine and alcohol. To find out that no, the root of it is I have a problem with escaping I like to escape my reality. Right. And then once I escape it, I never want to go back to it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't have that. The alcoholics from the alcoholic literature of Alcoholics Anonymous would like to call that the phenomenon of craving. And it's once you get that drinking, you just want to keep fucking going. Yeah. For me, that keep going is that I just don't want to go back to reality. Yeah. In drugs, it would be called a come down. Yeah. I don't want to come down. Right. I don't want to come to. I don't want to be in reality. Right. And that's ugly though. Yeah. You want to, like, why are you running from your reality? And I'm not surprised most people are trying to run from reality because they didn't really build it. Yeah. So today what I do for myself is I built this life on my values. Yeah. And if it's not on my values, I don't fucking do it. Yeah. I learned how to say no. And some people need to learn that. And it says it in the Bible that your yeses be yeses and your nos be nos. Yeah. I will always go back to scripture because that's one of the books that always work. I've read the Quran. I've read the Enlightened One, which talks about Buddha. I've read multiple books. I've studied cults in different religions. I am not an educated guy by school, but I sure as hell went the extra fucking mile because I was desperate. I was like that woman that was bleeding in the gospel for 12 years and she's desperate. And all she says, man, if I touch this guy's tunic, my life will change. Right. I was that desperate. And that desperateness opened a willingness and humility and the willingness to be honest. And you best believe honesty hurts, especially when you're trying to hold on to your hypnotic rhythm the way it is. Yeah. But you got to get rid of it because if not, it's going to keep coming back.
So the hypnotic rhythm, it's a pretty specific thing. To you and to anybody else who may understand it, it's this constant circle of just madness, if you would. You talk about before in your past that you've dealt with anxiety and depression. I feel like that is somewhat of something that people kind of go into over and over again, and they're always looking for a solution for. They're looking for something to be able to kind of break that away. Some people have gotten some tips and tricks from you about how you got rid of that, but I don't think anybody really kind of understands how heavy of an anxiety you actually might have dealt with in your past and depression. So can you kind of like tell us about like where it is that you've seen yourself in your anxiety and depressions, what you've dealt with, and then also how you may have kind of made it better or have kind of fixed it?
Yeah, man, anxiety and depression, man, it was fucking crippling. Started around 16, 17. Honestly, I want to say it even started a little bit before that. I had like anxiety of death when I was a child. You know, I used to have this reoccurring dream where I was in a room and all my family members were there. And little by little, they were disappearing. But as they disappeared, the emotion was there, connected to it. And I felt like alone, you know? And damn, I never really talked about this on camera. And it really fucked with me as a kid. Yeah. I want to say that's when it rooted. Right. And I need to say this story so I can get into where it started and how it just kept evolving. I remember even one day I was in school and my mom didn't pick me up. She was late. Yeah. She worked 2 jobs, man, and she was a single mother. And that feeling of the dream came in reality, and I felt like I was gonna be left. Yeah. I've only had her my whole life. Right. So it was literally her or nothing. Yeah. And that day it fucking felt real. Right. And I never wanted that fucking feeling. Yeah. And I guess that's the feeling I always wanted to fucking escape. You know, the feeling of knowing that I am a fucking alone in this bitch. Sure. You know what I mean? And I think that's I don't know, I'm not gonna speak for everybody else, but I mean I think that's why you guys want a God. Sure. On the other side, because you want to hope to fucking God there's something on the other side, and I am with you on that one. Yeah. Because that fucking feeling feels horrible.
Yeah.
helpless, hopeless. You're fucked. At 16, I was already a full-blown drug addict. I had an hallucination, and that dream manifested in my hallucination. And after that, the anxiety started happening, and the panic attack started happening, and it just gravitated towards, complete self-destruction, and the drinking, the depressants, what only made it worse. And eventually, I was fucking desperate as fuck. I was done consuming fucking drugs to escape it, and I tried to go find a therapist, and found a therapist, and fucking bitch wants to throw pills at me. And I'm like, I'm here because of drugs.
Yeah.
I'm here because of drugs. Obviously, now I know that it was deeper than that. It was that whole feeling, right?
Sure.
That fear of death.
Yeah.
Which I think we all run from, because fucking people live like they're not gonna die.
Right.
Right? They live like they got tomorrow or something.
Yeah.
They make decisions thinking like, well, I can change that next week. Could you?
Right.
That's a whole nother conversation. But she tries to throw me these fucking pills, and I'm like, bitch, I'm here because of drugs.
Yeah.
I don't want that. So eventually she just couldn't help me, and she's like, I shouldn't say this, but I think you need God.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I left.
Yeah.
And eventually I did some time, and that's the first time I ever read the gospel.
Yeah.
Book of Matthew, Book of John, Mark, Luke. And there was a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
And life started making sense. And I'm not surprised that life started making a little bit more sense, because most of this Western civilization is built on Judaism and Christianity beliefs. But we could have an argument on that.
Sure.
With a lot of people that will not believe that. But I really feel that's when life started making sense to me. And when I got out, eventually still trying to numb it. Like I said, let's fast forward.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of numbing involved.
Yeah.
Then sobriety comes.
Right.
5 months into my recovery, I'm at a McDonald's with my son buying him a Happy Meal. The last thing I'm thinking is happy. I fucking think I'm gonna fucking figure out how to kill myself without hurting these fucking people more than I've already hurt them in the past.
Right.
And I was desperate. I was fucking desperate. I was like the woman in the gospel, 12 years bleeding.
Yeah.
And she just reaches out for his tonic.
Yeah.
I fucking reached out,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to reach out to a fucking therapist, because I know what way they go. And I'm not surprised that they go for pills, because at the end of the day, they know you're not going to be accountable. She's going to write you a list of things to do. Change your diet, take some time off, maybe stop spending money on dumb fucking shit and getting yourself in a fucking debt. But you're not going to do none of that shit. Yeah. Meditate. Oh, what the fuck is meditation? I don't do fucking yoga. You're going to make all the fucking excuses. So what do here? Fuck your excuses. Just take the goddamn fucking pill. That's the way you made my job.
Yeah.
And I've worked in rehabs.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all they really want.
Yeah.
They just want to escape. Here you go. Here's another escape. But this time I gave it to you, and I'm a doctor, so it's not really that escape. Sure. Bullshit. Yeah. It is what it fucking is. Yeah. And if I offend somebody, I'm not telling you to throw your medications. If you're on medication, keep your medications. They're probably keeping you alive. But for me, I wasn't going to go down that path anymore. Yeah. Putting a fucking bullet in my fucking mouth, in my head, sounded way fucking better at that moment. So I Googled natural ways to battle depression. Mel Robbins came up. She talked about 30 minutes of exercise. A couple of Jim Quick came up. A couple other ones came up. And I just said, fuck that. I'm doing an hour. Inside workout, burpees, all the stuff that I learned in the county. And then I'll go out to the track and run. And I did that consistently for a whole year. And then again for the second year. And I'll tell you one thing, man. When I went out to that track, every day I ran, it was a spiritual experience. Buddha says, spirituality is the release of suffering. Anything that releases suffering is spiritual. I released suffering out in that track. I would run out there and I'd be like, all right, I would set a bar, a number, and that's what I was gonna run. A certain amount of miles, a certain amount of laps, whatever, and we ran them. And it was a high number, because they had to push my limitations. Yeah. And on the last lap, I would remember, like, my sister's at the finish line. She's gonna give me a hug. She's gonna give me a hug. And then I would run and I would cross it and I would fucking like jump into the air and just fucking cry. Yeah. My knees hit the ground and I'd be like, take me now. Yeah. Take me now. And I had a mentality that I was ready to go every day. Every day. Yeah. And my fear of death went away. That's what it really was. Yeah. My fear of death that I had since a child went away in that moment, because I knew I've earned my way into the kingdom. Yeah. And I haven't had an anxiety attack, panic attack. My depression, I felt sad. Sad's normal, man. If you feel sad, that's normal. But as long as you don't feel hopeless. Today, I can't feel hopeless. There's too much hope, man.
Yeah.
I opened the book of all hopes. Story of in the book of, in the gospel, man. When Jesus is in the boats with his disciples and the waves are hitting. Oh, you of little faith. Every time I'm going through something, I listen to that story. Story of Job, when everything is burning down and his family's getting lost and everything. What does he do? He still stays loyal to God. I love that moment. He rips his tunic and shaves his head and says, naked I came, naked I leave, because that's all we are. We're all just on borrowed time. So my fear of death went away. And with that, many things went away. Does that mean I'm solved and my problems are all solved? No. I still want to escape reality. You know, I'm still here. I still got, you know what? If you're stressed, you're blessed for life. If you're stressed, it means you're blessed with life. You're blessed with life. Because that's the only way you can be stressed. The death ain't stressed. They're dead. So yes, I'm like everybody else, man. I hope there's something on the other side. You know, and that book makes sense to me, man. I read all the other ones, man. I'll tell you one thing. I relate to the poor guy with the sandals, the tunic, nomad, straight outlaw, anarchist. That's what I see, you know, straight gangster, man. I'm not the word gangster. Straight outlaw. Straight outlaw.
Right.
Fought for a group of people.
Right.
That felt like they were not invited to the party. Gave them the invitation. Welcome to the party. And I love parties.
Yeah.
So when he told me, no, you could come in too. I'm like, damn, I was always on this line. They told me I couldn't come in. No, you VIP, baby.
Yeah.
You VIP. And I was like, baptized in the fire, man.
Right.
Testimony, not a testaphony.
Right.
You know, and at the end of the day, you know, I gave meaning and purpose to my fucking crazy ass life.
Yeah.
Mi vida loca.
Thank you for sharing that. There's a lot of people that struggle with a lot of specific things, if you would, in life, depression and anxiety definitely being one of them. In fact, this country deals with it pretty often. And hearing from somebody that they've kind of found a way to be able to kind of like balance that out. Maybe other people, like you've mentioned, maybe they deal with depression and anxiety really deep. And maybe their only solution at the time could be that. Yeah. But to be at the very least, to be able to test something like, you know, the solutions that you found, test them out. Really push yourself to the limit to be able to see if it works. And it's at the very least worth a try. So I want to take a quick break just so we can grab some water. But right after that, I want to kind of come back and start talking about some specific things that have to do with your music, your look. I want to know the definitions as to why certain things you got going on, 13 thing going on. I want to know more about that. So we'll take a break real quick and then we'll come back and talk about those things.
Amen.
Cool. All right, welcome back. We're going to continue our conversation here with Migs Whiskey. We just need to take a little break and drink some water and make sure everything is good to go. The first half, we're really talking a lot about you, kind of like where you're coming from and everything. Not to say the second half is going to be about you. We're going to talk a lot more things about you as an individual and how it is that you get to where you are today. But obviously this whole entire thing is going to be about music and everything behind music. So I want to talk some more questions about the music itself and more so the inspiration behind music. It's not necessarily about like, oh, hey, like how do you write your music and stuff like that. I think I really want to know kind of what makes the artist, not necessarily what inspires the artist, but what makes the artist. And so for yourself, there are a lot of things that are already, we'll go and work backwards if you would. There are like, we'll say symbols, we'll say there's logos, there's artwork that you've put out there that kind of, you said that represents yourself. It's not just on social media or your shirts and stuff like that, but there's artwork that's all over your body. And I know that some of that stuff gets repeated into your music as well. And so I kind of want to know a little of these things kind of coming out. And the one thing that I can think of right off the top of my head is you had I want to say it might have been your demo. You had it was called Blackbird's Redemption. Is that true?
Yep.
And right on the front, it was a crow that kind of like was sitting there. It might have had something in its mouth, right?
Yeah, it's an olive branch.
Okay, so it had an olive branch in its mouth. I've always been kind of curious as to what that would have been, and I think I've heard snippets of what it is that it is, but I want to know kind of like the full story on what that is. Why did you call it that, and what does it represent to you?
All right, let's go to the back to like a little bit of what I talked about even before. Everything has to have meaning and purpose, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy that I found out that everything needed, like pain needed meaning and purpose, struggle, adversity, because I was always about meaning and purpose. I mean, every one of my tattoos has a meaning and has a purpose, right? So I wanted that to be in the art. And the crow or the raven with the olive branch symbolize, it comes from the book of Noah.
Oh, okay.
When Noah sees the white dove with the olive branch, which symbolizes peace. And I have a moment like that, but I feel like if a bird came, it wouldn't be white. It would be like black, you know? And that's how it came to me.
Yeah.
It's my piece. And I have 2 tattoos. One is the black bird, literally, with the olive branch. And this is way before the demo.
Oh, wow.
So it was already a thing on me before it was a thing for you to, to experience. Yeah. I have the peace sign upside down. If you look at it, it's upside down. But if I look at it, it's right side up. Right side up. Yeah. It's, you see my life, you see chaos. Yeah. I see peace. Yeah. So stuff like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I give it a spin. Yeah. I give things a spin, and that's what I did with that. I give the olive branch peace thing a spin. And you know, I'm a fan of a lot of artists, and one of them is the Beatles, man. Yeah. You know? And Blackbird singing in the dead of the night. Yeah, right. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. Yeah. That right there, I related to. Yeah. I'm that fucking blackbird with the broken wing. And if you listen to the song, which is one of the songs on the demo, Blackbird's Redemption, which is a self-titled, that's what it's talking about. It's talking about a bird, broken, looking for a home, looking for peace. And that's what it comes from.
Pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, but you have a couple other things that it is that you say, or the things that you have represented. You have the number 13 a lot. Yeah. It's kind of a lot of different places. And I've always been curious as to what 13 means to you.
So 13 has a lot of meanings, One of them, obviously, it's good luck number. Like in Italy, it would be a good luck number. Yeah, yeah. In certain areas, that number is very threatening, right? Sometimes it's bad luck, and then sometimes it's really dangerous. You know, 13th floor, right? But I wear the 13th for the 13th disciple, which is one of the hashtags that I put a lot, man. And I believe I am the 13th disciple. I am the 13th witness when I am reading the Bible. Gotcha. I believe you are too. Yeah. I believe when you pick up a book, you are a part of the freaking book. Yeah. You are a character. And the never-ending story, that's what that whole movie was about. Right. The little kid reading about Fantasia was a part of Fantasia. Right. And at the end of the day those characters only look the way they look is because they made a film of it. But if you really read the book, you would make those characters look how you think. And that's the beautiful things about books, you know? And I'm not trying to get off subject, but I could go off subject, man. So you give it, you know, and back to meaning and purpose, you know? And yes, 13, to me, many meanings, but the 13th disciple today. Yeah. I am the 13th disciple, you know? And the 13th disciple too, in the gospel, I feel like the first man that goes to heaven that shows that he's down in a way, but a lot of people will argue it, was the good thief to the right. Thief.
Right, right.
That's the first dude. The first dude to go to heaven was a criminal on death row. Right. There's two criminals next to Jesus. One says, well, if you're God, why don't you save yourself? Yeah. And the other one says, save me a place in your kingdom. He looks at him and he says, you already there. Yeah. You know? I'm not quoting it, but it's like that's how it goes down. Yeah, yeah. That's how it goes down. You know, they even put that little moment, I think, in the Passion of the Christ, you know?
They did, yeah.
And in American Me, the mom gives Santana a chain with St. Dismas cross on it. So, yes, but, you know, no one really wants to talk about a criminal going to heaven. Sure. And I'm not surprised. Sure. It goes back to those self-righteous goddamn Christians. Right. You know what I mean? And the fucking people that think you're not invited to the party. Yeah. So that's the story that changed my life. Yeah. That story, when I read it in the county jail, I had to hold back fucking tears. Yeah. Because I'm like, if Jesus let this guy go, I got a fucking chance. Yeah. I got a fucking chance. And death row is a serious offense to be on death row. Yeah. So you can't be like, well, he was special, or he didn't do something bad. Right. he's on death row.
Yeah.
Okay? He's on death row. Not everybody that's on death row is evil fucking people, man. Don't quote me on that.
Sure.
But some of them have really found redemption, and who
Right.
are you to say that they didn't?
Right.
You know, there's a lot of people. I mean, there's books on them. You know, some people have found that they were innocent while they were on death row. So you don't really know. We don't ever fucking know. God only knows.
Right.
So that's what it goes down to that. Going back to the Good Thief and a lot of the stuff with the logos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about logos. I mean, the ski mask.
Yeah.
With the St. Dismas cross on the head.
Yeah.
It's a criminal.
Okay.
It's a criminal, and that story is the one that goes, and that's me. That's me.
Yeah.
You know, and the ski mask I like to call Crim. Just rest in peace to my homeboy. And then not only that, it's a criminal.
Yeah.
You know, it's a criminal. The cross is a story of a criminal that finds redemption.
Right.
That's what my music is. I'm a motherfucking criminal that found redemption.
Right.
I'm a motherfucking sinner
Yeah.
that found love.
Yeah.
Love, and I didn't need it from you, because you sure as hell weren't gonna give it to me. You want to lock me up.
Yeah.
But God didn't want to lock me up.
Right.
So it goes back down. Like I said, man, at one point they told me I should make Christian music, family members. I'm like, I am.
Yeah.
This is Christian music.
Right.
And we could go into that too, man, how people think music's the devil.
Right. I want to talk about that. I had raised up in a Christian household. I started getting into like metal music and stuff like that, which is an easy one to put up on the board, right? Of the evil satanic music. And I got heavy into metal. I liked it a lot. And I had a lot of my grandma or older individuals, really conservative Christians, that got really upset with me, and they argued with me pretty often about that. And a few of the bands, if not most of them, that I was listening to were Christian metal bands. Their lyrics you wouldn't have been able to tell unless you knew how to scream and roar all over the place.
Yeah.
You wouldn't tell, but a lot of their music was talking about challenging system, challenging the world. It was about God. It was about a couple different things. But the argument was always like about like the music itself, and like more of like shouldn't it be more so about the intention? So I want to ask you about that because you play outlaw music, and outlaw folk, and you're in these places like bars and stuff like that,
Music
which other
for
people
sinners.
in general will be like, hey, why are you playing in a bar? And why are you playing this music? And why are you cussing in your music? And they have all these questions.
Yeah,
about
aren't
all
you a
this stuff, right?
Christian?
Yeah, aren't you
right?
a Christian? Right. I want to know your kind of opinion or your thought process behind how it is that you see the intention behind the music and where that comes from, and anybody who thinks that certain music belongs to the devil or whatever the case.
Yeah,
may
man.
be.
I mean, you hit it. It's intention. It's intention, man.
Yeah.
I'll go back to like cussing and cursing.
Mhm.
You know, cussing is a filter word.
Yeah.
Right. That's just like fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but fuck you, you stupid fuck.
Yeah.
That's cursing.
Yeah.
You're cursing someone down, and that's what it says in the Bible. And it always goes down to intention. What's your intention with your words? And my words are not to fucking glorify crime.
Yeah.
It's not to, if that's what you get, that's like the person that watches American History X is like, oh, you're glorifying Nazis. No, have you watched the ending?
Have you seen that movie?
The dude gets raped by his own group,
Yeah.
which were Nazis.
Yeah.
You know, that's not what art's about.
Yeah.
Art's about telling a story that has meaning and it takes you somewhere.
Right.
And that's what it is, man. And it's all about like rock and roll. Is it the devil? No. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm a little bit of a historian. I like music too and stuff like that. You know, Robert Johnson, man. A lot of people, why they hated the blues was because people would rather go watch a musician play than go hear the gospel at church sometimes. Or they would show up hungover from listening to the blues all night.
Sure.
You know, and then the blues musicians were sleeping with the women, and that's when those are the first rock and rollers, baby.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not surprised that the pastor reverend, you know, got mad a little bit that the chairs were empty at his church.
Right.
And then later on, he wants to go, that's that music keeping my kids out of here. And you know what I mean? And you might be right.
Sure.
But sometimes that music is what brings us closer to God.
Right.
I know there's a lot of songs that have brought me a lot closer to God than that Christian music you listen to.
Right.
There's a lot of music that got me closer to doing the right thing than some of the individuals out there preaching, you know, and man, that's what it is, man. There ain't no such thing as music of the devil.
Mm-hmm.
Music is music.
Yeah.
Now the devil is the intention.
Right.
Is the intention. You know, you could put the devil in anything.
Sure.
I mean, there could be a devil at church.
Yeah.
There could be a devil at the table.
Yep.
What's your intention with those words? Did you say those words to build me up or to curse me down?
Right. So basically you don't believe that that any music belongs to any kind of sect of the world, right?
No,
It has to
man.
do with the intention of how it comes out and how it is that's also received as well. So I would assume that the music, because the music that you give out has a lot to do with like going through certain scenarios that have to do with like outlaw type of thinking, or a kind of like goes towards that audience, if you would. You do make music for the Outlaws, or at least anybody who is in that mindset of the
Yeah,
Outlaws.
that lifestyle of
Yeah.
the streets,
Right.
that nitty gritty, the south side of town.
Yeah.
You know, I got a song that still hasn't gone out, but it's called South Side, and that's what it is. And I always believe that like the north side, like I grew up in Montebello,
Yeah.
right? And up in the hillside is all the nice houses.
Ooh.
But in the south side of Montebello, that's like on the other side of Whittier, starts getting a little bit more active.
Ah, I see.
So that's what, you know, I believe every city has that. Every city has their little dark places, right? You know, there's those streets where you go and you can get a nice little quickie.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Or pick up a bolsita, you know, pick
Right.
up a bag
Yeah.
of some fun time.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Fun time in a bag. And that's the place I talk about.
Yeah.
You know, about those things you don't want to talk about.
Sure.
And I'm not surprised that it makes you feel some type of way. Like, why are you talking like that if you're Christian?
Right.
Well, that's what makes me Christian.
Yeah.
The reason I'm a Christian is because I know I'm a sinner.
Yeah.
I love women, alcohol, drugs, and all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
If not, I wouldn't come to church.
Right.
If not, I wouldn't need your God.
Yeah.
I needed your God because I'm sick. Your God is the doctor. I'm sick.
Yes.
I thought that's why you're here.
Yeah.
Oh no, but you're obviously you're good.
Yeah. Right.
Then why are you here?
Yeah. Right.
You don't go to the doctor when you're good.
Yeah.
I got a bad case of the sin. You know what I mean? And I need my medication.
You talk a lot about a crime, obviously, in your music and stuff like that. That what comes with not just the actual music itself, but as your audience is like you are kind of I actually don't know if you're treading light when it comes to your audience and who it is that you talk to, because I would imagine that you get a lot of people that may still be active or are in that kind of realm, if you would. How do you keep yourself out of it? If you do keep yourself out of it, how do you keep yourself out of crime and that thought process and people that may live in that place?
Oh yeah, man, that's been a process, you know, because it's always, I mean, the world always tells you more is better, right? So you always want the shiny things, right? So one thing that really helped was becoming a minimalist. You know, for a year and some change, I became a minimalist. I literally didn't spend a dime on anything that wasn't a necessity. It was literally like jail program stuff, like just like straight up soap, shampoo, deodorant, food, shelter, like for my transportation to work. And obviously I didn't deprive my family from what they wanted, but I sure as hell deprived myself from all those things. And, you know, I think it's Socrates. I think it was Socrates. There's a good story. One of those philosophers, he was very frugal, and you know, it was simple, you know, but he loved to go to the market, and all his friends were like, "Why do you like to go to the market? Like you never buy anything." And he's like, "Because I like to go and see people just need all this and me not need nothing.
Right.
It makes me feel so powerful."
Yeah.
And that was a power that I never fucking knew till I knew it.
Yeah.
When I walked through the mall and all I saw was my reflection in the glass. I wasn't looking through the glass to see the shoes, the boot, the shirt, the jacket, the car, the bike. The less I needed, the less I wanted, the more I wasn't willing to do shady shit to get that. So I wasn't able to compromise my integrity to get that. And people might think like, well, I don't sell drugs. There's other ways of doing some shady shit to get what you're gonna get. If you know you overprice something and you feel bad about it, that already should show you something. You know, if you taking advantage of that old lady because she doesn't got no kids and you like cut her lawn and you went the extra fucking mile and took like $300 off her when you know, dude, she should have just gave you the same price that her neighbor did. And that makes you feel some type of way. That's the kind of stuff I started tapping into. Like, why more? Why more? Why not less? And that's why in a lot of the interviews I say, music's not the, money's not the motivator. It isn't. money will come, and I hope it fucking does. I hope you value. I put a tip jar down.
Yeah.
I hope you value my music enough to throw something on the tip.
Yeah.
Because it got nothing to do with nothing. It doesn't say nothing about me if there's no money on the tip. It's got everything to say about how you feel about what I do.
Sure.
Because I'm still gonna do me.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't tip the artist, that's everything to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
I did my service, and you best believe I put 113% in everything I do.
Yeah.
So I know it wasn't me.
Right.
I just know I'm like, we're not, brother, we're not amongst our people. It's fine. Let's go to the next spot.
Yeah.
Put our hat down, and hopefully you tip us.
Yeah.
And that's what an artist only wants. All we want is support.
Right.
You know, I don't go to your job and watch you do everything and take it and not give you nothing for it.
Right.
This is original stuff.
Yeah.
If you wanted fucking music that's already made, there's jukeboxes for that shit.
Yeah. Right.
We gotta drive. We gotta tune instruments. I gotta pay for that stuff.
Yeah.
You're not only paying me for 30 minutes. You're paying me for the lifetime that I live to make those stories.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to ask you something about that. Music has changed so much throughout the years, right? You have like these huge legends that have gone out of, that's coming out of we'll say the early 19th century, right? And when you kind of see, as technology moves, I think people have a different way of looking at music, a different type of respect, we'll say, for music. Yeah. And so when you kind of start talking about like the tip jar and stuff like that, I think it starts getting people to
going to an ancient time.
Yeah, you're getting people to think about music in a way they probably are not used to. People these days, they consume music and don't really think. I've talked to people at times like, oh man, that's a great album. You listen to albums? Oh, I'm an album guy. I listen to a whole album because I assume if there's one good song, there should be a good artist. And so I listen to full albums. I don't listen to one track and then forget who the artist is. I want to kind of appreciate who they are specifically. And so what that kind of like got me thinking about was how you see music from where you were growing up in the 90s and seeing music where it was then, and how quickly technology kind of turned it on its head, if you would, where making money off of music is almost impossible. And for a lot of artists to be able to make a good chunk of money to make a living off of it is pretty difficult. And so to be able to get to a place to say, bro, just throw some money in the tip jar, to me, you awaken this whole entire conversation has to do with respect towards music. And I feel like a lot of respect is like not really giving into these days. Where do you think that comes from? Like this thought of like people not really looking at music the way they used to. Do you think that music is getting like, is just not doing as well as it used to? Because some people like to say the whole thing, oh man, things are not the way they used to when I was growing up. You know, the old timers say like, oh man, music was better back in the 70s and 80s or whatever the case may be. Do you feel the same way, or do you think that because of technology that might have changed something?
Man, there's so much parts to this, so I'm gonna try to hit on different things.
Sure.
So one, I don't want to be the old timer that says, well, back in my days it was better. No.
Sure.
But I am stuck in an old time.
Right.
And that's because I'm stuck in old music.
Sure.
But it's not old.
Right.
I never is. Music doesn't have an age.
Yeah.
You know, people said, punk rock's dead. No, it died to you.
Yeah.
It died to you.
Yeah.
Because I still listen to the Sex Pistols, the Ramones, the Misfits, the Clash. You don't.
Yeah.
You think growing up is putting this on the side and being submissive to the system. Sure. I guess you weren't punk rock at all. You were fucking chach magach. But that's your whole thing. So that's one thing.
Sure.
With the change, yes, you can make a lot of money on the internet. I'm not too tech savvy.
Sure.
So that's why I keep it old school.
Yeah.
I would love to have that team that's tech savvy, but then having a team means dealing with egos and emotions that I've already had to deal with band members.
Sure.
And that's its own struggle.
Right.
There's a difference now. Well, there's a difference too. Like right now, hip hop is really big.
Yeah.
Everything going onto a studio and just pushing buttons. I mean, at one point you had an engineer and he had all these buttons and he had to be a master. Now it's like all right, record. You know, sometimes even a laptop and that's good. But with every good, there's bad, and with every bad, there's good.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just, there's a lot of paradoxes there.
Sure.
So, I mean, I remember going to the studio and recording our demo, man, and the guy's like, all right, follow the metronome thingy, you know? And I'm not a fucking educated musician. I learned hands-on.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, there's no feeling to this.
Yeah.
It's like, just stay to the dot, and like, fuck that shit, homie. Like, that's why I give you an experience that's natural, original. That's why I decided to go on YouTube and record unplugged. So
Right.
you can see that you're gonna get what you're gonna get. Growing up, it was like we would hear a band and you would hear them on record and be like, damn, they kick ass.
Right.
But the fucking thing that was a must for us, for me and my brother, at least Vicious, we would go to a show and watch them at the show. I'm like, they better do at least what they did on that CD. And a lot of times they didn't. We don't want to be that artist.
Yeah.
We want to give you the same feeling. And if not, we want you to feel like, damn, the music alone is good.
Yeah.
The album just made it 16 times better because you added all that studio stuff.
Yeah.
But we still want to make it good. I go to these hip hop shows and you got these fucking rappers singing to their CD. Homie, I paid $40 fucking for this shit. You rapping over your CD? I could have fucking listened to you in the car.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta see you. I guess that's an experience now people want. That's cool with me. But for me, it's about the energy.
Right.
You play that keyboard. You fuck up on a note and it becomes a part of the fucking song.
Right.
You know, you fuck up on anything. Like I was talking to some artists, and I love talking to artists. Fuck musicians, homie. I'm sorry, I can't have no conversation with you motherfuckers. That's why you guys are in tribute bands. You know what I mean? And that's just me talking, you know? Nothing against you guys, motherfuckers, but we ain't on the same fucking goddamn fucking energy level. Sure. You know what I mean? I'm fucking talking art. Yeah. You know, I'm talking, get on here, man, give me a beat. Man, let's go. And then like that, those moments in the studio I love. So whenever if I get a band together, which I've had so many times, and it always breaks up because of drugs, women, and accountability. Yeah. You know, I want guys that can play. Yeah. You know, like give me a bass line. You know, give me a keyboard, harmonica. Let's go. But you know your instrument, you know your trade, and we go on there and we just, that moment. I live for that moment. Yeah. And I guess that shit's like low-key dying. Sure. It fucking is, man. You know, with the pandemic, people didn't want to play smaller gigs with smaller people because they think they got a big name. What the fuck is this, dude? Right. Play multiple gigs. I thought you loved what you do. Right. Pura mamada. All it is, it was all bullshit. You know, but I'm not a pessimistic, man. I'm optimistic about the music. I go old school, though. I put a tip jar. I keep it up there for free. Pay me when I get there, though, man. Fucking show me the love. Right. Because I'm actually, I tell people when I play a show, I love you guys so much, I'm going to tune. Because why? It's respect for you guys, man. What am I going to play with an untuned guitar? Like, what am I going to that rapper that just throws on a CD and just, you know, and that's the thing about music, too. You could get famous overnight, right? A lot of artists did it. One song, boom, you're heavy. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. But at the same time, people just throwing so much stuff out there that it's just like, well, that was Wednesday, man. We're not listening to that CD no more. Or that song. They're not even listening to the CD. They just listen to that one song. And it's like, what happened to that shit, man? It's like these Instagram videos, man. Right. It's like these Instagram videos. It's instant. What it was 30 seconds at one point, then it was a minute. Yeah. And that's all your mind can handle, I guess, right? Like, I could just handle one of the songs in the album. Yeah. You know, but I'll post it up. Yeah. And it's like, nah, man, that's not what I was about. You would go buy a record, listen to it for that one song, and find out that what songs you really liked out of the album. And sometimes you realize you bought a fucking shitty CD for $12.99 or, you know, one of the 99s because psychologically they got to make you feel like you're not spending the money. And that's another thing too, becoming a minimalist, you really start seeing the value of what you pick up. Right. So everything has to have value and meaning and purpose, like I said. Yeah. And that's what it does. So times have changed. Yeah, the times have changed. And when it comes down to music, times have changed a lot, I think. And with technology, you say there's a good and there's a bad to everything. If we can say that there's something bad about the instant gratification of technology, if you would. There's also the good that it allows a lot of people that are willing or wanted to always get their music out there. They have the ability to now get it out there as quickly as possible. At one point, it was like, oh, sorry, you can only sign a big, gigantic record deal. It's the only way you can actually make music and have people hear it. But now with the internet, anybody can hear anything. And so I think that's cool that now Migs Whiskey, who has not really done his music in a studio just yet, which people are constantly asking you about, I'm sure. But you can have an opportunity to say, you can see me play pretty close to live, unplugged on YouTube. That's technology at its best, to be able to get an opportunity to be able to do something like that. And I think it's what's great about it, I give the power to you guys. Yeah. Bring me to your town. Yeah. Find out I'll go out there. But just like everything, man, it's like, that's how punk rock was. Do it yourself. Right. And you guys could get me out. You could get me out of New York, Texas, Wyoming, You know, if you really want me that much, you know what I mean? I'm just putting out the material, and I'm gonna keep putting it out on YouTube, and I am gonna put it out eventually on all the other platforms. But hey, if you really want it that bad, come get it.
Yeah.
I'll be at the Doll Hut.
Right.
You know, I'll be at Viper Room. I'll be at the House of Blues. I'll be at Gallagher's. I'll be at man, I'm just naming all these places. You guys are getting free fucking promotion, but I like at the end of the day, I love these places because they had me multiple times.
Right.
You know, the coffee shops like Night Owl in Fullerton.
Yeah.
You know, man, so many places, man, that you know, and I've had to deal with a lot of shit too. Sure. Shitty ass promoters that, you know, don't want to pay the artist. They just want to make their own money. That's why, you know, I started making gigs myself.
Yeah.
You know, there's just so much stuff. I'm in the music business, not the music industry. The music industry's fucking shady. It makes people change and hop, you know, rings of fire just to make people happy. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to fucking tap dance. I'm like Pinocchio, homie. I got no strings to hold me down. No. You know what I mean? And I got fucking Pinocchio tattooed on my shin. If you guys know, I'm a big fucking Pinocchio motherfucking fan. Shout out to Pinocchio. And yeah, man, you know, I fucking relate to that motherfucking story, but that's another story. Yeah, so no strings to hold me down. Fuck the industry. Yeah. And you know, at the end of the day, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. And there's always gonna be a tip jar. I'm a street performer at the core of it. You know, at the end of the day, that's what I am. I'm an artist. I play an instrument. I am from a different time. My music is inspired by the 70s. Yeah. You know what I mean? And obviously everything there in between. And this time has changed. And you know, I'm gonna go with the times. You know, but at the end of the day, is when you really want something, come out and get it, eh? Right. You know, if I wanted to pick up today, I didn't need money. I used to wake up in the morning sometimes with no money in my pocket, and you best believe I was going to get a bolsita. I was going to go out and I was going to get a bag. I was going to get a bag no matter what. So when you really want the bag, you go out and get it, and that's what I do. Yeah. I just put a tip jar, man. Just tip your artist like you tip your bartender, right? You value those drinks. You want them to be good. Well, hey, I put the power in your hands. It's not in the label's hands. I can play any song I want, say whatever the fuck I want, because I don't got no strings. Yeah. And I don't got no fucking PR saying, don't say that. Chales, we say what we say. This is our culture. Yeah. This is punk rock. Yeah. Outlaw music. Music for sinners. And if you don't like it, well, man, change the station. Yeah. And if it's not on the radio, because it's not, get the fuck out the room.
All right, well, I think we're getting pretty much to the end of our interview here. I think it's been not just long enough, but I think we've gotten to some really kind of deep places. And I just want to end it on your music, as this is going to be a segment about music for other artists as well. It only makes sense for me to be able to end it on music as well. And not just any music, but your music. You have been making, as long as I've been following it at least, you just constantly make music. So people are sitting there like, yo, when's your music going to be out there? They're like, you've only heard one song that you want on the album, whatever the case may be, but I got a lot of music that's coming out consistently. I want to know just kind of your personal connection to your own music. If you had a favorite song of yours that you play, and the reason as to why that's your favorite song.
Yeah, that was always been a hard one, but I would have to say it's Death Valley. It's the song that started it all. It's the song that had so much truth even before I knew what truth was. You know, who's to blame? Me, because I go back into Death Valley. Read the lyrics to every one of my songs. They're all great. And I'm not only saying that because I make them. I'm saying that because they came from real stuff. But it's crazy that in that song, man, I was able to be so honest to be like, I'm the reason I'm where I'm at. Yeah. And I'm the reason this is all happening because I keep going to Death Valley. I keep giving into my sins. I keep giving into the darkness, slipping into the darkness. And even though you might say, I know that, applying that is knowing that. And I didn't get to apply that till this time around in recovery. And I made that song way before recovery. It's the one and only song that's on there. You see, I don't have a lot of the face tats because I was living with my mother-in-law, and I was in the living room, and my wife just decided to, well, my wife now, my girlfriend at the time, baby's mom at the time, decided to record it on her phone, and we posted it up. It was the first video we did for the channel, and it's the one that started it all. And that's why it has so much meaning to me, and it's just crazy to me how subconsciously I could see the truth, even though consciously I couldn't. It was like my hypnotic rhythm was screaming out, to be changed for me to listen. So the song was there for me. But if you got something out of it, blessed are those that could hear. And yeah, that's got to be my favorite.
It was one of my favorite songs when I first started listening to your music, and probably a lot of other people's as well, especially around that time. But yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite songs too. And the more that you talk about it itself and its relationship to you, you get to talk about one of your favorite words, which is ownership. And I think that like the idea of ownership and what that might mean unto ourselves as individuals, you just trying to kind of notify the world, hey, ownership is important. Let's think about this. For it to be inside of a song way before you even realize how important it was, that it kind of wakes people up in such a specific type of way. Chances are people are watching this on one of your social media platforms, but just in case they don't have all of them, plug it in. What is it that where are you on the internet?
On Instagram, I'm at MIGS333, Facebook, Migs Whiskey, Snapchat, Migs Whiskey, TikTok, Migs Whiskey, Twitter, Migs Whiskey. And if you're having a hard time, man, Google the name Migs Whiskey. Wow. Don't forget to check out the YouTube. Migs Whiskey. Yeah. Like, share, comment, but most of all, subscribe. And for the people that have subscribed up to this point and follow me on all these platforms, muchas gracias. It motivates me to keep going. Yeah. And there's been many times when it's gotten dark for me. And yeah. The DMs and the messages, all that stuff. It's the reason why I do it.
That's great. Well, it sounds like you're everywhere but Spotify, which is irritating for some of us.
Yeah, I bet.
But anyways, all in all, this has been a really good talk, really good interview. I really appreciate you taking the time to be able to talk to me and allow me to kind of just go and ask you questions that I've been curious about, and to be able to get into a place in which your audience hopefully can get to know you a little bit better. Again, I'm going to pass the torch to you. So when we do another interview and you interview another artist, you're going to be the one doing the interview. So learn some lessons from me. I'm decent at this, I think.
Yeah.
But as a musician, you're going to be way more qualified to be able to ask musician questions.
And I'm glad we did this, man, because continuing with this segment, continuing with this series, I don't want to ever talk about me. Yeah. I've seen that. I'm a podcast guy, man. Yeah. I see it so much. They start talking about themselves a lot, you know, and it's when you're new, you're new. Sure. You make mistakes. Sure. I want to make the least amount of mistakes. You know, a smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. Yeah. And that's what I do, man. I go to shows to not only experience the music, but to learn what to add to mine. Right. So watch out, man, because I'm a headhunter. Like straight up, like there's the blues term, headhunters. And it's pretty much, you know, you go in there, you steal the show. So if we playing the show together, I'm not really against you, but you best believe I'm setting the bar high. Right. And it's because I've been trained by the best, and if not, I've watched the best, and I want to be in the same stage as the best, and I want to give my people the best. So that's all they're gonna get. They're not gonna get nothing cheap. There ain't no cheapy weepies. You're gonna get the real deal, straight up, uncut, raw. Yeah. And that's it, man. If you guys want to check me out, come out to the next show, man. You will not regret it.
Nice. All right, Migs. Well, thank you for this time. And you can follow him on all the social medias. You can follow me nowhere. Please leave me alone. And, and we're going to cut it right here. Migs, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, brother.